Booktube, it's Amy, and I'm home again in my reading chair, sitting here with the private papers of Bankrupt Bookseller by Will Y. Darling. And today we are on page 167 of this edition, looking at a heading titled Books for Prizes. A bachelor book lover is the most likable of all the species. And I have one who is a perfect example. Bland, urbane, well-informed, tolerant. He is the kind of man I would wish myself to be were I not what I am. That guarded proviso is due to him, as a matter of fact. He it was who told me of the story of the most wonderful of earthly trinities, the Scotsman, the Englishman, and the Irishman. The Englishman admitted that if he had not been an Englishman, he would have liked to have been born an Irishman. The warm-hearted, generous son of Erin was not to be outdone, and he handsomely admitted that if he had not been born an Irishman, his preference would to be born an Englishman. The Scotsman sagaciously weighed up the merits of the case. He was agreeably disposed, but truth must come before politeness, for one brought up on the Psalms, the Shorter Catechism, and the porridge. He replied that if he had not been born a Scotsman, he would have wished to be born one. I therefore make my proviso and content myself with preferring to be what I am. My bachelor book lover tells me that he has 2 nieces and reminds me of Charles Lamb's opinion that nieces are the nicer. In fact, all male children should be drowned at birth. He wants his nieces to like books, and he told them that whenever they want a book badly, if they will write a personal letter to him explaining why they want the particular book, he will send it. But the letters must be clear and concise in their whys and why-fors. The elder miss demanded a Robert Louis Stevenson. She has Treasure Island and the Travels in the 70s, and she wants to have a complete set. Fortunately, I am able to oblige my friend, but he tells me as to the reasons. Next time, we will want something more than manifestation of the spirit of the collector. He will want the expressed preferences of the critic. The other niece has asked for Simple Stories by Archibald Marshall. She likes the pictures and her girlfriend has it, so I have been instructed to procure and post Simple Stories illustrated by George Morrow, published by Harrop. It will be done. All that brought me to the problem of prizes for good boys and girls, and for clever boys and girls. For good boys and girls, I sell Bibles and prayer books. An early drift to piety is not to be discouraged. There is a lot to be said for making these the first books which a child gets once he or she has got beyond the picture book stage in life. My own appreciation began early, and I'm inclined to think that those who come to the Bible and the prayer book with matured minds miss a lot. The story of the prodigal son is a different story to John aged 7 and John aged 17. The lovely parables of the Good Shepherd should be sown on a young and innocent mind if the full meaning and deep comfort is to come when mature years have informed the intelligence. The Life of Christ, there are several of them for children, belongs to the same commended catalogue, including those which are illustrated. The Pilgrim's Progress ought to be a prize for a good boy or girl, but I am not so certain when I come to Don Quixote or the Arabian Nights. The fairy tales, Andrew Lang's series, I always recommend, and with them every year there comes a host of competitors. It is a side of publishing which is well done, these prizes for good boys and girls. Prizes for clever boys and girls are rather more difficult, for I am never chary of recommending and selling any book, no matter how advanced. Thackeray, Dickens, Scott, George Eliot, Jane Austen, and the Brontes. Every clever boy or girl ought to know that if the reputation of cleverness is to remain with them, they must know something about these really clever people. They should get them early. They will love them late. Basil Blackwell, Oxford, published in 1927, a very instructive and stimulating book which I sold for a prize, and which the donor has told me gave a definite direction in life to the winner. History has marked her for her own, I believe. The book is called The Curious Years, and the subtitle is History, Recent and Remote. The author is Jessie Rathbone. The price is 6 shillings. It never got any good reviews that I saw, but it is a good book for a prize nonetheless. It begins with the creation and goes down to 1900. The method is to link a name, a quotation, an event, and the date all together. To stay random, just at random, I take page 125 and learn from it what the 17th century was, what a kaleidoscope is. Here are some of the names: Guy Fawkes, Marie de Medici, Gustave Adolphus, Oliver Cromwell, Richelieu, Mazarin, Judge Jeffreys, John Hampden, and Fahrenheit. Here are a couple of the quotations. Richelieu and Mazarin made France glorious. Men feared, but did not love them. Lord Macaulay and John Hampden, a great man who never sought nor shunned greatness, who found glory only because glory lay in the path of duty. And here, to complete the picture of what the book is, are a few events. First, Eddistone's lighthouse built. Pilgrim Fathers sail for America. First English newspaper, the Weekly Times, printed. Peter the Great came in disguise to Holland as a shipbuilder. I think The Curious Year is a stimulating and original book. It will make an epoch-making prize for a clever young person, and who knows where it may lead. Last year I sold Napier's Battles in the Peninsula as a school prize, and this was very well received. John Murray publishes it and the mention of his name reminds me once again of the Samuel Smiles book. They are good prizes. Macmillan's edition of Sir John Seeley's Expansion of England is the right kind of book for the donor of a prize. I have too Chatto and Windus's edition of Macaulay's History, the fine paper edition in 5 volumes. It awaits on my shelves. What a fine edition it is, from 500 to 600 pages in each volume, all most beautifully printed. Frankly, it is too much of a prize to sell. I will keep it. My cleverness, unrewarded at school, claims it now. One may make too much of young people. A Christmas book is a kind of prize book, but frankly, this Christmas present business makes me very ill. I am worried by all sorts of inquiries all day long from persons who wish, on the anniversary of the birth of Jesus Christ, to give presents to their friends. They are not the gifts of the Magi. They are not the gifts of peace and goodwill upon the earth, because they seem to be given grudgingly, unwillingly, reluctantly, meanly, and yet I suppose they do represent some slight expansion of good feeling, which the givers only feel at Christmas, which comes but once a year. I am told by a traveller for one of the less reputable book-selling firms that my experience is not new. Novice though I am to the book-selling business, I am, however, shocked at this revelation of human nature. The traveller tells me that the classic story in the book trade is the story of the man who approached a bookseller, not as a tradesman, but as a friend. He said to him, "I have got to give a present to my brother-in-law, and I do not know what I can give him. He seems to have everything and is much better off than he ought to be, considering that he is only a blockhead." The bookseller was anxious to be helpful, and said, his mind being on his trade, "Why not give him a book?" "A book?" said the would-be donor. "A book? Why, he has got a book." I laughed heartily in spite of all my Christmas troubles at the suggestion, but it is bitterly true. My small shop is packed with books, and my life is full, too full of books. But I do know how true it is in so many houses there exists, as a symbol perhaps, one single book, which, having found its way there, remains an orphan to the end of its days. And so in this muddy, dirty, depressing week which precedes Christmas, I must be careful. I must not push my wares on a reluctant public too enthusiastically. I must remember the other things that the world already possesses. I must remember, too, that most people already have a book. And so we'll end it there today on page 171 of the private papers of a bankrupt bookseller. And next time we will pick up with sections titled The White Flag and Madness and Books. And I know I'm only 9 minutes in, but I just wanted to read a little bit, despite being quite tired and in some ways finding it difficult to focus on the book here. But I hope you enjoyed that little bit of reading for today.